Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu pakhairagale. Ni hao. Chunashumme. Washmale. Oh, hi, Gonzaimas. Guten Morgen. Hola. Bonjour. Privyet. Kaifahal. Hale Shuma Chatore. Ahlan wa salan. Marhaba. Buna. Mucho. Gracias. Swabi. Balli Kireaya. Hosh Galdin and I. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Haja Sati. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that you are ready to get started with us, that you're ready to kickstart your week with us and your day with us as well. But first things first. Hello Haja, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for asking me. I'm doing great. So Shahzad, it's technically Monday, and it's a book review week. But before we go into that, do you want to add something?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm actually
how was the KPL drafting thing?
Alhamdulillah, it went superb. It was well received by the people as well. It gained a lot of views all over the internet too as well. People called me from all over the world congratulating me. So, since we are embarking on the second season's journey, so I want to wish best of luck to the entire team as well. But first things first, I'm actually anticipated by the book review. So why don't you go ahead, take a leap and let us know. What book have you chosen for us today?
So I have always a knack for the autobiographies because, they're very light and they're, journey of a particular person who is writing it. And, the good autobiographies have very emotive power in it. So this one is actually one of my favorite, and I would always recommend it to anyone, who asks for the book reading. So this is Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. It's a really amazing book. He documents, how he rose from a, very power, like the very poverty into the, corridors of the power. As he became politically active, he writes that, there was an apartheid regime there, and there was an extreme segmentation, extreme segregation when it comes to that. Interracial relations were banned. Shahzad, when I was going through that book, I came across, a lot of experiences that I shared. I think our ancestors have also shared it under the British colonial Raj, because I do, remember that there was this thing called Indians and dogs are not allowed in the very white area. Same was happening in the South Africa. Blacks were not allowed in a very white areas. They were not allowed to, ride very white dominated buses. But Mandela was always, breaking those rules. As he progressed in his political career, he dropped the unarmed idea of the resistance and went into the armed resistance because he felt that the apartheid regime is not budging. It's not desegregating all that, fragmentation that it has caused in the society. He was jailed for that. For almost 27 years, he spent in the Robben Island. He was convicted. He was a political convict for that matter. And, when he came out, so there was an entire change of the technological era. So someone threw a wired mic at him and, he actually jumped back because he thought that this is some grenade or bomb. He didn't know that there was so much technological change, He was not allowed to, visit his mother's funeral, his son's funeral, and that he said that this is the, price that I have to pay, for the upbringing of my people. He said that, people are not born to hate. They're taught to hate. And if they can be taught to hate, they can taught to be loved. And love is something that is very innate. So it has a lot of emotive power in it. And I really, really loved it. And, this is what, if you find that book and read it, so it's really amazing.
Wow,
really
and it sounds amazing as well. And it's wonderful. But, in addition to that, let me just, for all of those people who are out there, I think that he was the first ever a black president in the history.
South Africa, yes.
From 1994 till 1999. Not just that. I think that he is a role model for a lot of people, and for me, the reason is very simple because he used to say that freedom, justice, and dignity should be for all. It shouldn't be really, to one race or to other skin color as well, which is why Nelson Mandela, ladies and gentlemen, is still being remembered today as well. But now I think it's about time that we move on towards what's happening all over the globe and inside Pakistan. So first things first, what do we have?
So SCO Secretary General meets Prime Minister, and I think that's a very diplomatic sort of an edge for us because Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has underlined the need for developing appropriate funding mechanisms to promote intra-Shanghai Cooperation Organization trade as well as development initiatives. He was talking to the Secretary General of the SCO Ambassador Zhang Ming, who called on him in Lahore. Stressing the enhancement of transport and communication links, Prime Minister underscored the importance of connectivity agenda and in this regard also highlighted that CPEC should serve as a useful model in its facilitation.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So, the Prime Minister also reaffirmed Pakistan's strong commitment to the principles of SCO Charter and the Shanghai Spirit. I think that's quite a development, and considering the fact that the world is moving from unipolarity to multipolarity, I will not delve much into the politics. So, having
because we have already had a very hard discussion
Right.
that too before the show too as well. I think we other colleagues who actually work on the news desk were a little disturbed about the kind of conversation we were having, but obviously it was on a lighter note as well. Everybody's got their political inclination, the differences are there, but yes, you really need to make sure that you're a good human in the first place and then move on towards your political inclination. Now moving on towards where how I just early in the morning was reading that in Karachi today it happens to be a public holiday because of the rains taking place over there, and since they do not have a proper drainage system, so everybody is probably stranded. I don't know, I think it's quite a lot of difficult time for people living in Karachi, but what's happening all over Pakistan in terms of monsoon rains, ladies and gentlemen, with the update I am going to share with you that the prevailing monsoon effects spreading across the country have increased the risk of urban flooding in mega urban centers as heavy downpour further lashed out various parts of the country. The ongoing monsoon rains were in their active phase, especially in the northern and central areas of the country. According to Met Office, more rain, wind with thunder shower is expected in Sindh, Balochistan, Punjab, Islamabad, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. The Met Office further said, and they even released an advisory which said that scattered heavy rainfalls are likely to happen in South Punjab, Sindh, Lower Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Eastern Balochistan. Oof, that's a lot of rain. I was actually feeling lucky because over the weekend I was in Lahore and it was raining in Lahore and I could see how people were stranded over there too as well. But I feel lucky that we live in Islamabad, where we live in a very planned city where we certainly do not get such sort of inconveniences. But for people, there can be so many urgent matters which they have to attend to, and imagine that your city does not have a drainage system, so you're just stuck at home. I mean, I feel sorry for all of them, and the government really needs to do something.
Right. So, we are moving towards a very important topic, that I feel is really pressing, So, Shahzad, what is the difference between a follower and a leader,
I mean, I believe, for myself, how I see, because I think Pakistanis have always confused leadership and a leader. So we are more prone towards the leader rather than looking into whether they have the leadership skill or not as well. So I believe that a leader is somebody who makes sure that he lives in a very decentralized system, and then at the same time talks about everybody having the same priority as you do as well, and then working together, gelling together for the same cause and making sure that everybody gets the same benefit. Not that one individual will take or reap the best of the benefits and that the last ones are actually left over. And such is the practice of Islam too as well. So Islam, if you're going to follow all of those teachings, I believe that everybody is going to be a leader too as well, because it's all about caring, looking after, making sure that you're going to be out there for people, raising concerns, voices, making sure that that you're going to go on, even if a hunger strike is necessary, you make sure that you're going to stay hungry for all of those other people's need too as well. So I think this is what I take of a
so Shahzad, I have
leader.
A counter question, right? So what if not every voice that is coming into that mushawarat system is very wise? So do you still need a very decentralized system when it comes to that?
Exactly, we still need a decentralized system because we live in a democratic country, and we live in a democratic country because we vote.
But we still have a president or prime minister.
Which is why I'm saying that we still have to vote. So majority of the votes will definitely take it. Majority wins. So I think over there, that's what people really need to see and observe, that okay, when there's a majority who actually vote for something, we really need to back them up rather than just having apni own 1.5 inch ki masjid. This is something very important. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who's going to teach us, tell us, inform us first what is leadership, and then we will move down to how can we actually instill all of those characteristics in our personalities to be a leader ourselves as well. So we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by immediate ex-president of the Toastmaster. She happens to be a public speaker. She happens to be a leader too as well, a youth leader. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we have been joined by Miss Noreen Fatma. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Hello, and a very good morning and happy Monday to both of you and our worthy audience.
Thank you very much for joining us, Miss Worthy Leader. It's wonderful to have you over here. So first things first, what is being a leader? Let's just break it down, and then we will continue to learn what characteristics do we need to be a leader.
First of all, thank you so much, Shahzad and Hajra,
yes.
for taking this topic into our discussion. Leadership is very important. That we all are leaders in every sphere of our life, in our homes, in our offices, in our teams, in the form of father, in the form of siblings, elder siblings, and in our team in which we are leading any project. And the leadership has a lot of literature we can see on internet. Different authors have written. According to Simon Sinek, in his book, which is called "Leaders Eat Last." So it means about him, when we talk about his perspective, he says that leaders provide a comfort safety circle to his organization.
True.
He says that if he provides a conducive and comfortable environment to his team will feel safe and secure, and they feel that they are not threatened by any external or internal factor, then they will definitely apply 100% of their energy to that very project in which they are working. Ultimately, it will not improve their performance, but will also improve the performance of that very organization.
All right. So do you think that we only think about leadership when we really have to enhance our performances? Or leadership can actually be from any walk of life. For example, somebody is ill in the hospital, you really need to take a very crucial decision, and you know that everybody else will blame, God forbid, if that decision goes wrong. I think that's where taking the right decision on the right time for the betterment of the people is something which I would entail as leadership, no?
Yes, I agree with you that there are different approaches of leadership, and every leadership style is not, first we have to understand that every leadership style is not applicable in every situation. Like I can share the example of mine when my parents, we all were affected by COVID back in the end of 2020. So being the eldest sibling, I had to take the decisions because both of my parents were ill, they were not able to take decisions. So I had to take the decisions immediately.
True.
So at this point, being more experienced and being more knowledgeable, I need to take the decisions for the betterment of not my family, for
the
my,
betterment of the entire family.
Entire family, definitely. So different leadership styles in different situations. For example, in certain situations when you have to take short-term decisions, and we know that leader has more knowledge and we don't have much time in that situation.
यार अभी तो time गुजारो ना फिर कर लेंगे.
It happens. Lekin sometimes we need to take it because because if we don't take that immediate decision, it will impact the society as well or the organization. And then there are some situations like I can take example from my daily life. I got a project of research because I am serving as a research associate in a naval headquartered think tank. So I got an opportunity, I got a project in which I have to take take my team, and we have to do research on that very topic. What I did that, I invited all my fellow colleagues, and we had a decision. We had to take the ideas of each and every member. And in this situation, we came up across different innovative ideas. And this helps in solving complex problems.
Right.
So when we talk about collaborative or innovative leadership style, it helps us in achieving, it leads to not only achieving synchronization, and it will help in creating open-mindedness, and this open-mindedness actually lead to achieve your desired goal as well.
Yeah, and that's something which everybody wants as well. But in addition to that, since we did speak about how we do have a culture of yaar abhi to dekho na fir baad mein karte hain, we have this habit of procrastination as well.
Yeah.
But when we talk about leadership, there's this one most important aspect, and that is that half of the time leaders even do have their lives, and they do have their families, they do have their priorities as well. Is it always important to be a leader that you really have to put aside all of your priorities and think about people as a whole? Or at times you can prioritize your life too as well? For people who are learning, I think this is something where we need to start from.
Yeah, I think when you first create a synergy among your, I think at the start of the tenure, if you are having, you start your journey.
Yeah.
If you have planned your things in an effective manner and you have engaged your team and dedicated their tasks, so they are doing at their best. So I think
that's exactly what I wanted you to say, because it's a multi-tier question. Imagine over here in Pakistan what happens. Unfortunately, what happens is that whenever you as a leader have a plan for your entire team, what we need to do is, I believe that we need to change the way people think, and it's because of the fact that the first thing, you bring in a new idea, the people will start to talk about how that idea cannot be achieved, rather than, okay sir, hum koshish karenge, we will try our best, we will do our level best, I'm going to go chase it, whatnot. Sir, ye nahi ho sakta, sir, ye nahi ho sakta, this cannot happen, this cannot happen. And you're like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to question my own leadership rather than asking them to do it for me as well. And you really need to be you need to be out there. You need to be making sure that you're more efficient than your entire team.
Yeah, you are more efficient, and because you are setting the goals and vision.
Yes.
And if you are, I think,
which
stepping
is
back,
debunked by your team
exactly.
most of the time.
So here I'm going to share some of the attributes which are really important in order to be an effective or empowered leader. First, he must be an effective communicator. If he is not an effective communicator, how he or she will be able to share his ideas, share his targets, share his vision in achieving? And if he is not able to do this task, I think his team won't be able to understand then how they will perform and assist him or her in achieving those targets. Secondly, he must be optimistic. Sometimes we set targets which are not achievable. We need to set our targets in a manner that are based on our team's competency and the capacity, which are at least achievable, not like which must be smart goals. Second one is open-mindedness. As we have to consider each and every team member's ideas, values. Otherwise, if we won't value them, they will feel left out and they will definitely won't perform to the best of their abilities. Secondly, he must show integrity. If any of his team members shows a little bit contribution, we must acknowledge him. We must appreciate.
हल्का सा कोई काम करते हैं, आपकी तारीफ कर दी और
but it's important. But it's important.
And for our English speaking people out there as well, so usually if somebody contributes, if they're not habitual of contributing, if they contribute a little, you're like, oh, you've done a great job. The next 2 days they're off. They're like, hey, you know what, we've done our bit as well. So you really need to be careful. I don't think that if you want to appreciate, take some time, let them be in that run of the mill and then, gradually do it.
But we can see some examples, Shahzad, where many people leave their job because of their, non-acknowledgement. And sometimes they feel if they're not comfortable in that very environment. Most importantly, they must show integrity in that. What if I'm saying my team that you have to come sharp at 6:30 p.m. so that we can start the meeting?
Yeah.
If they come on time and I'm not coming, so imagine next time they won't come on time and they will see so why should we come? So integrity is really important. He or she must be honest. Only then he or she will be able to create trust among his team, and this will last forever, and only then his team will try to follow him or her.
Right. So I think we are also, sort of living in a very paradoxical society because we have so much wealth of information and poverty of attention, right? And, Shahzad was alluding to the fact that, good leaders should have a good listening skills, right? When it comes to that. So how do you think, we develop those kind of skills, especially, considering the fact that, we are so much tuning in and then we are tuning out and, how do we listen to all of those voices? And not every voice is very wise when it comes to that, right? So how do we develop that?
First of all, I said that it's one of the attributes is open-mindedness. You have to be receptive and you have to be very patient. Leadership is not so easy and it's a choice. According to John Maxwell, leadership is not about position ranks, it's about service. So, as you mentioned about Nelson Mandela, he's also one of my role models.
Right.
He was, although he had busy schedules, but he was available to shake hand with those people who were not even worthy for him. They might not be helpful for him.
Right.
So that's
exactly not how he thought, right? That whether they're worthy of shaking hands or not. But I think that the most important question over here is, how do you learn to be a leader for your own self in the first place, and then make sure that you impart? Because for a leader, whatever habits the leader carries forward, I believe that all of those habits really need to have a meaning for other people as well. For example, showing up on time, you just mentioned, listening to other people, making sure that you have values for other people, you show the level of dignity and respect. And only then all of these things will come to you. So how do you become your own leader in the first place? Imagine somebody supposed to wake up at 6. He just cannot, or she cannot wake up at 6. Do you think they can become a leader? They're supposed to make sure that they take their medicine on time. They're not taking it on time. Do you think they actually have that habit of being a leader. If you're not going to be a leader for yourself, if your mind is not going to tell you to lead your own self, first of all, out of a chaos, how can you be a leader to a million people out there?
So here comes to change your lifestyle to become a leader.
Right.
How do we change it?
First of all, I would like to mention one of my favorite books, like Atomic Habits by James Clear. If Hajra, do mention
Thank God
it.
you didn't say toxic habits. Atomic habits, yes.
At least we need 21 days to change any habit, and it has 4-step formula. First, you have to make your habit obvious and make it attractive, make it visible, and make it satisfying. If it's giving you a food for desired outcome, then you can become it. And if first of all, I think discipline is very important in order to become a leader. And here a very important aspect that really helped me in my leadership journey was I designed my calendar of events before start of my tenure.
Wow.
You have to develop a proactive approach.
Right.
Because you are sitting.
But obviously there can be different thought processes. Somebody works on a calendar. Somebody is like, okay, whatever life is going to bring towards me, I'm going to work towards that. But since you spoke about how, we need to be a leader, for example, because, if you think that a leader is not actually in the right direction, from the outside, we do have a lot of disagreements. We've been following somebody, and now we realize that, hey, you know what, this person is not going to be good for me. The habits, the traits they carry, I think are toxic, and the people are following him or her blindly. How do you think now we check whether the leader is to be followed or not? Because this is something which is very important for people to understand. कि यार follow किसको करना है, किसको नहीं करना है.
And I think in other words, what you mean to say is, what are the bad qualities in the leader, right? Yeah.
That there and then you're like, okay, you know what? I think I've had enough of him or her. I need to move on.
Right.
Here I'm going to mention a book called Wings to Fly by Usman Gulzari. He said that always follow the ideas, not the personality. Some यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान का culture ये है कि we follow the person blindly and without.
Oh, he's so good looking. Oh, he speaks so well.
We have different criteria.
Following his
dressing sense. And so we need to follow those attributes, I think, which are, you think that these are important and that are creating change not only in our society. So we have to follow those habits, and so that we can become an effective leader.
All right, so how much personality matters to be a leader?
Personality have different characters, and I think it's a mixture of your attitude, behavior.
Because if we go to go back in time, take a good look at Gandhi Sahab as well. He might have a very wonderful personality, but from the very look of it, he was very humble, he was very down to earth, let me be very honest over here. On the contrary, if you look at Qaeda-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, people still follow his attire, the way he used to speak and whatnot. So, there's this...
It has a charisma.
Sky and...
have a charismatic personality. We can talk about IK. We can say that in last podcast, people were discussing about his t-shirts or something.
I'm really sorry, I'm cutting you here, but I really wanted to ask you this question because I do feel that we are short on time. So when it comes to emotional intelligence, right? So when I was doing the research of my program and I came across this thing that, someone labeled it as the emotional wealth when it comes to that. So it means that, you need to, keep your destructive emotions at the bay, and you need to play into the mind of very healthy emotions that you are going through. So can you more elaborate on this part when it comes to emotional intelligence and exploring the relationship with the leadership?
Thank you so much, Hajra, for putting this topic into it, because it's really important, emotional intelligence. Because in order to become an effective leader, sometimes there are times when you become emotional, and we all are humans, but at that very time you have to stay neutral and follow the procedure. What I've learned from my leadership journey is that there are some times, and especially in voluntary position, it's really hard. True leadership test is that when you are leading an organization in a volunteer manner.
Right.
So there are some times in which you observe some incidences which must not be done, but in that very situation, you have to control your emotions.
Exactly. But over here, I'm going to go back to where Hajra was actually referring to Nelson Mandela as well, where she said that initially...
What happened to him in whole life?
No, in the days of his struggle, obviously, he was very anti against using, force or such stuff as well. But later on, he changed that trend. He was like, okay, force needs to be used over here too as well. So this actually kind of gives us that, okay, God forbid if things do not go your way, you really need to put force somewhere as well. So how, as a leader, do you really need to put or bring in force? What should be those circumstances where you're like, okay, now we really need to sit down, hunger strike or whatsoever are the tools of making sure that you create that pressure? either it's the government, either it's the contrary party of the society.
Right. Or the
so how do
status
we
quo,
do?
yeah.
How do we do that?
So there are some times when you take to take a stringent actions, as we talk about in a democratic manner, authoritative manner, the style of leadership.
But it's not always democratic. And that's what I'm saying. So how do we do that?
In that manner, I think you can go through the constitution manner. In that state, what you can do is you need to follow the, I can say, the whole process. If we sometimes we try to think if it's not good, we should do it like the way we want. But if you follow the whole, you can say the constitutional process, it becomes.
But what if the constitutional is very, rigged? For example, when I was talking about Nelson Mandela, it was very white supremacist, right?
Okay.
The systems were there that, segregated the white from the other colored people right there, right? And I think America still has that system because, they have this 3/4 rule where, 3/5 rule where, 3 black vote will be, where the 5 black vote will be considered equivalent to the 3 votes, right? And it's extremely rigged in the favor of the white people out there, right? You need to change that, right? Because it's not morally correct.
Then you need
so
to create
not every
your
lawful
own-
thing is morally correct, right? When it comes
And
to
in addition to that, there's one more thing, and that is because I believe that one of the most important characteristics of being a leader is sacrifice. Imagine, so I've seen, for example, if my father is an elderly person at home, for the other siblings to listen to him, or, it's their choice, they do it out of respect. It's not mandatory. But I've seen him sacrificing quite a lot for the very sake of their brothers and sisters, and not with the intention of staying or being the leader, but rather to make sure that the other people are being helped, who actually look forward to you too as well. So imagine how many times I've seen people who've just given away their wealth to the people within their family, making sure that, hey, that they have a good life.
Lifestyle.
So I think sacrifice comes on number one. So if you do not have this very characteristic of sacrifice for yourself, you want everything for yourself, please forget that you are going to be leader one day. Or if you forget that, hey, that somebody else might need something more than you and you're not available to share, please stop thinking that you can be a great leader. If you're not honest, stop thinking that you're a great leader. If you're not nice, kind to people, children of your society, stop thinking that you can be a leader. If you're not good with your parents, stop thinking that you can be a good leader. These are all the characteristics, because leaders who I have followed all my life or thought about or kind of wanted to be their way, their lives are absolutely so stunning to read about. They've been so courteous, they've been so courageous at times. They've always made sure to raise voices, even though if their jobs were in danger, even if their lives were in danger, they always stood with the truth. I think that's something very important, no?
Yes, I agree with you. We have to be very kind. As you already mentioned all these, we all are leaders in our daily life. Like you said, but we can talk about our fathers. They have sacrificed many things for us.
Yeah.
They are.
I mean, I don't like that lifestyle. I have a disagreement over here. I have a very fair disagreement over here. I've seen that, to fulfill our responsibilities, they've sacrificed,
a lot.
all their lives. They might have not gotten newer clothes or need, we might have gotten that. I don't agree to that. If you had the finances, you should have gotten it for yourself too as well. And I still do not want to be the father where you have to sacrifice your own life for the well-being of your kids. Yes, obviously, it's really very important that you think about them, but your life is important too. I want to change that mindset where parents have been sacrificing for their children. Don't do that. Live your life too as well, and make sure that you teach your kid that, hey, you're 18, go do it yourself. Yes, that's it.
We see the culture in West that after 18, the kids start actually earning by themselves and they become hopeful.
Right. So let's explore the relationship. For example, Shahzad mentioned, how empathy is so much important when it comes to leadership, right? We need to feel empathetic, and that's how we can develop this quality. Let's explore the relationship of the violence and the leadership, right? So for how much do you think it's important that, so there's this liberal system in the place, which says that, let's move towards from violence towards the non-violence when it comes to the leadership qualities, right? But how much do you think it's integral or effective, when it comes to the change of the status quo, the violence thing and the relationship with the leadership qualities?
So when you talk about violence, we need to take some stringent actions in that, in order to first identify the root cause of that violence, and we need to take some strict action so that we can play, a leader can play at least to reduce this violence in that state or area.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Noreen, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation. For everybody who's out there, such is an example of a leader where I would want to mention about our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he stood up all nights crying for his ummah. And he always made sure that he's going to pray for them. He never laughed, he always smiled because he knew that God forbid how the life's going to end and how people will be in trouble right in the Jahan of hereafter as well. So imagine that he never had that moment where he's actually left his companion out anywhere else as well. He would rather change the question when it was in between Hazrat Usman and Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu as well. So if you need to learn, please make sure that in the first place as a Muslim you have a leader who we know as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. With that, we're heading out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, we've got another interesting segment to share with you guys. Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's about time that we introduce an entrepreneur to you and talk about how women and entrepreneurship are actually doing quite a lot of wonderful things and what is going to be its impact in the near future, where the global population of women is more than men now as well. So it is a very important topic, very close to our heart. We're very lucky that we've been joined with somebody who happens to be an entrepreneur herself. She is Miss Fatima Abbas. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. But ladies and gentlemen, we actually have to head out towards a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.